Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. Really late with today's video, so I'm going to rattle through everything as quickly as possible. I'm going to have a look at where next week to 10 days. We'll start off just talking about competition. Also going to have a look at CFSB 2 for the next month. So just say the prize draw is well and truly underway now. We've teamed up with metcheck.co.uk Weather Instrumentation to give away this wonderful prize. It's the night fishing moon phase clock. It's just a prize draw, so all you have to do is email your name and address to gasservice@gmail.com. You'll be placed into the prize draw, and on Sunday, one name is going to be drawn out of the bag at random. The name that's drawn out of the bag will be the winner of the clock. And this clock will be on its way to you. It's worth £39.50, but it can be personalised. So you can have your name or a loved one's name engraved into the clock. So if you don't want it for yourself, it could work as a present for a loved one, maybe a birthday present, maybe even a very early Christmas present for somebody. So if you want to win it, all you have to do is email your name and address to gasservice@gmail.com, and one person will be winning this clock on Sunday. And a big thank you to metcheck.co.uk Weather Instrumentation, as always, for supplying us with this prize. So let's get on with the video then, and we're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days first of all. Starting off with the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average, a little bit above average at the moment, but as we go through the next few days, it's going to be turning a bit cooler. And this carries us through into the second half of the month. That's this period on the graph just here, going cooler than average into the second half of the month. Not significantly so, but certainly cooler than anything we've had up to this point in April. In terms of precipitation, lots of dry weather coming up for the rest of this week. Then into the weekend, it's going to turn a little bit more unsettled with some showers over Easter. And then into next week, it does look a little bit more definitively wet then into next week. That's a long way off though. It's been a very dry pattern that we've been in for quite some time now. So, have to wait and see if the weather does in fact turn as unsettled as that. Essentially, I think we're still looking at cool and not overly wet conditions over the coming week to 10 days. Temperature anomalies for the next week. This goes from the 11th to 19th of April, coming out a little bit cooler than average. Most parts of Europe looking quite cold. Precipitation anomalies look drier than average in the south and west, significantly so. A little bit more unsettled up to the north. We might see these trending a little bit wetter over the next few days. It'll be interesting to see by around Thursday, Friday where we are with these charts. This is the GFS for Saturday then, bringing down this cool and showery northwesterly wind. As we go through into Sunday, Easter Sunday of course, again it's remaining quite cool and showery. This low pressure could be bringing some rain up to the north, but south probably is mostly dry. We'll have a detailed look at Easter this evening, so if you want to know more about the Easter period, come back this evening around 7 o'clock for more on that. Into next week, it's Easter Monday, bit of a ridge starting to build up from the southwest. And then into next week, as we saw on the ensembles, it's perhaps turning a little bit more definitively unsettled next week, with low pressure properly coming in from the north and from the west as well. That will be a generally quite wet pattern across most parts of the country. As that low pressure clears through later next week, this is Thursday 20th of April, this is Friday 21st, it actually turns the winds into the north, so quite a cold northerly plunge coming through later next week. So colder and wetter is the trend for next week. But do we believe that, or do we think it might be a little bit over top? I think it could be a bit over top given how dry the pattern has been recently. ECWF looks like this for Saturday. Again, cool and showery on Easter Sunday. Probably mostly dry down in the southwest. There could still be some showers up in the north. But I think there'll be a lot of usable weather over the Easter period, really, this year. It's certainly not going to be a complete washout, but never overly warm because the winds are always coming in from a northwesterly direction. So it looks relatively cool, I think, through the course of the Easter period. Then we go through into next week. So this takes us to this takes into Tuesday, just after the Easter period, where we've got this ridge building out to northwest. So winds are coming in from the northeast, so it's not going to be warm, it's going to be quite cool, but it will be mostly dry in the north and west. And then that high pressure builds through the country during the middle and second half of next week. So unlike the GFS, which is turning things more unsettled through the course of next week, the ECWF actually says no, and it's likely to turn drier again. And based on the weather we've had over the past few weeks and months, you have to say that's probably the most likely outcome, that high pressure will just get going yet again. But of course, we'll wait and see with that. Finally, just have a look at CFS V2 for the next month. So these are 500 millibar flow charts broken down into weekly periods. The first week period takes us from the 11th to the 17th of April. We find, that's over the coming week, we find we've got this ridge out to the west-southwest with the trough over to the east, and the flows coming from a northwesterly direction. So it's probably going to be rather on the cool side, and a fair amount of dryish weather as well, but the north will get showery conditions. Week 2 looks like that. The 18th to 24th of April places that area of above average heights, high pressure out to the west-northwest of the country, the flow and the jet stream is doing something a bit like that. So again, a lot of settled weather coming up with that. Never overly warm because the wind is coming around from a northeasterly direction around that ridge, so it's not going to be a heat wave, but a lot of usable weather there as we go through into week 2. Week 3 is the 25th of April through to the 1st of March. Again, the ridge is out to the west-northwest, but perhaps more of an influence from below average heights, interestingly, to our south and east. That's quite an unusual situation. We're bringing the winds in from an east-northeasterly direction, and it could be quite wet actually, but especially so, unusually, for the south and the east. The north and west will get the driest conditions. The south and the east will be wettest there going into the very end of April and the start of May. And then finally, the week 4 anomaly looks like this. This is from the 2nd through to the 8th of May. Then we find the CFS is placing an area of below average heights pretty much through Western Europe. The ridge is out in the middle of the Atlantic. We're probably on the cool side of a jet. So the CFS, after a fairly dry and quiet first couple of weeks, second 2 weeks, so the end of April into start of May, does look significantly more unsettled actually, and maybe quite wet, particularly so for the south and the east. Now, that's all very highly experimental. Of course, these long-range models are not to be relied upon. It's just a snapshot of what model is showing today. It might look very different tomorrow. For the next week to 10 days, however, we're looking at a fair amount of dry weather. It will be rather cool at times. I don't think we're going to go back to the extensive warmth that we had through the first week or so of April, and particularly, of course, over the weekend, where it got very hot, really, for the time of year. I don't see us going back to that for the foreseeable future, but there will be a lot of dry weather around, so plenty of usable weather. Just the temperatures are going to be on the cool, a bit on the cool side, and it will be showery at times, particularly so up in the north. Right, we'll have a detailed look at the Easter weekend this evening. Come back for that. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.